Good morning. Um, it is the 22nd. Last night, I had some difficulty sleeping. Felt like I was supposed to be somewhere. Whole experience is rather maddening. But now that that's passed, I don't know what to say. Just some thoughts this morning. You can always find me for more rambling as I go through my days at the Lucky Ranter on Telegram. Yeah, I kind of need a shower and do some laundry. I was planning to do that this morning. But the situation has changed. I am down to $21 in my wallet. There was a $20 bill that I've had in there since, I don't know, years. I've had folded in there. Printed in 1981. And yesterday I actually tried to spend it, and the dude didn't think it was real. Granted, he was a foreigner and had a thick accent, so I would say he was probably at least in his teens when he immigrated, and he was in at least 30s. So he's probably not familiar with the older style bills, but it is funny. And he marked the fucking thing. Damn it. So yeah, anyways. I'm working on maybe finding a different living situation. Or moving on. Getting my vehicle all kind of squared away. It's really difficult when you don't have any money. I had some pipes from a project I had built in New Mexico. It was just like a pull-up bar thing I had outside, made out of 1-inch iron pipes. It was during COVID crap, so I wasn't there was a limited availability on a lot of stuff. So I just decided I'm just gonna make it and pay inflated prices. I think it cost me like $200 to build. But kept the parts, and why not? It could be useful for something else. And turns out it was pretty much all I needed to build a bed frame for my van, except for a piece of plywood. I had a piece of plywood, but then it was like, oh, okay, well, Now this whole thing is oh man, it's incredible what happens when you don't have any money, and you have to start thinking about what you can do with what you have. And then you can go a step further into the scrounging mode, which I'm close to doing that, but I decided not to. So I spent pretty much the last of my money on some lumber, because a piece of plywood, unless it's like close to 1 inch thick, is gonna kind of like start to cave. Well, this one really caves, so I needed to build some structural support. And I need to build some shelves. It's like you have a lot of free time, but then you don't have the resources to really do what you could do. It's like if I had planned all this stuff out, if I had planned any of this, it's so crazy to think what I left with, the choices I made. But that's also just kind of like what happens when it's like when you're like backpacking for the first time. And you buy all this shit from REI. If you're smart, you go to REI anyways. If you're stupid, you go to Walmart, and then you really have some shitty gear. But you buy all this stuff, and the longer you backpack, the more you start realizing, I don't need this. I don't need this. This isn't worth keeping. And you start dumping hundreds of dollars worth of stuff a lot of times. I'm not the type to really try to sell shit because it's not I try to give stuff away usually. Until you get a situation, of course, where you've been penniless for so long, your shoes are falling apart. I did manage to kind of fix my shoes a little bit, but they stink. And that's another thing. All these things that I'm experiencing, I realize that all you assholes are going to fucking experience. The ones that manage to survive. You know what it's like to go without? You're going to find out. Yeah. Apparently I'm not in the best mood. So I'm linked to this property in multiple ways. The owner of the property's father was a painter, artist, a abstract type artist, and for a while there he did become commercially successful. He did a lot of paintings and stuff over his life, and they're all pretty much here. I've looked at a lot of them. But she did have some of, I guess, when he went through a religious phase and put some interesting imagery into some of his work. I think maybe I still feel his presence here in some way, or the thing that maybe was behind him. This is not his work, I mean. It's just some random stuff she put up. It's not my decor at all. Although I do like that leather couch. It's pretty cool. And it's all fine quality stuff here. Well, not fine. Some of the stuff is fine. There was something else I wanted to talk about. It's just one of those rainy days. I just don't really feel like being outside yet. And again, of course, I'm just like, dude, I don't want to spend another winter here. I don't want to. I want some sunny, snowy days maybe or something. My birth date's coming up. I'll be 43 apparently. Yeah, hardware store yesterday. Rang up with tax. $33.34. And my bed that I'm building, bed frame, after putting in a 30-inch pipe, comes out to be 33 inches. I just find these interesting curiosities. And of course, I'm living in a town that is 66 miles. Apparently, though, there was a really heavy like KKK history to this town, which I haven't read too much about. And maybe they have some stuff in the. I don't think they would have stuff in the museum about it. I don't think they want to advertise that to tourists. But all the locals tend to bring that up. So yeah, there was that element here. Oregon's always been a rough and tumble place. I don't think it ever lost that vibe, even though it gentrified in certain places. That vibe never left. It's always been rough here, in some weird way. And I sometimes wonder just about, like, even my own situation. Like, how well do I know these people? some peculiarities. Things not lining up. Different stories. Dates. What happened to that person? Never mentioning where that person went off to. Why they don't have the title for the vehicle that's this person's name? Some odd stuff. You know, is that person really 73? You have these questions as you travel, especially when you attract such weirdness. Like the property I write about in my book, which I didn't want to go into detail, because I'm trying to avoid more complications to my life. But that property had a weird murder there, and I swear that's like I was just like kind of pulled to that spot. Even though I didn't confirm that it was that spot precisely, it was in that region. And I think it was. I think he bulldozed it all and planted grass, and it just like spoke to me. Come camp here in this spot where people died, and just one person died. I don't know. I try to understand my link to death, and I do understand it in a sense, because death controls the play of life. Like, if there's different souls or personalities or spirits or whatever, they're incarnating. Death is the filter. It's not just the filter. It's the so it's that stage. It's like different elements being brought together. An infinite amount. It's mind-boggling. I don't know. From the human perspectives of things, we can't cognize all of it, and I don't know if anything can cognize. I mean, it's not like we can even cognize our body, right? Like, we can become aware of sensations in our body, sensations that we never even were aware of before, just by tunefully, observing. But that doesn't mean that we cognize the whole thing of our body all at once. We can become aware of the feeling, being inside, growing outwards. We can become aware of those sensations, but like we can't become aware of all sensation at once, right? So my mind, in trying to conceive this from a human perspective, is limited. And I think it always has been limited. We all just get glimpses and pieces, and some of us record it and pass it along. Eons, New eternity. I wish I could be one of those people that were just so excited all the time and happy, and you have no idea how much I wish I could just be so, uplifting all the time. No, that's part of the human condition. We can step away, we can observe, step away. This isn't us. But, like, it's still all, I think it is possible to wash away all of this. I think it's just like I think every one of us is bright inside, and we're just wearing all this stuff caked on, and we can just wash it away. Maybe all it would take is just a moment, right? A moment where we all do it collectively. Just shine bright. I mean, I would love that more than anything else, you know? You know, my pain isn't that the world doesn't know me. My pain's not that. It's loving those and not feeling it, and well, maybe it is just pure acceptance again. It's validation of self. It's like it's the need to feel like, okay, this life was worth something, you know? And you look towards an external source because internally, even though I know, like, from where I came from and where I am now, yeah, this is a huge step, right? Huge. I'm pretty high up in the sky. And, you know, but I don't need the world to know that. I just kind of want validation from my peers. Is that, like, I try to understand it. Why am I criticizing myself for that? You know, why do I put myself down for needing that? Which is most likely kind of a social biological need. Like it's horrible having to feel like you're taking on the world by yourself. Spend your entire life feeling that way, and that's how I felt. Like I was taking on the world by myself, always looking for those that would help me take on the world, you know. It's funny and it's silly, and but like it's also the fundamental, like, raw aspect of what this is all about. Like, and I love that in people. I love seeing that in people. I don't. I do love other people who I don't see that in. It's true, but I don't have that same. I don't have that same need for validation from them. So, yeah, I mean, I'm trying to understand my psychology. There's a lot. It's a lot of work. And I sacrifice just about everything to do that work, even though maybe it's not always the correct work to be doing. I'm always lost as far as, okay, I mean, I like doing menial tasks because it allows my mind to, like, really kind of, you know, flow. That's why I actually like labor tasks, not things I have to think about too much, because then I have to shut down all the rest of my thinking. I prefer tasks that have movement, because I like to move, not necessarily doing the same repetitive thing, because that does start to hurt, but I like to move. It feels good, right? It's closer to the natural thing we used to do, which is what our bodies were designed for. And so it feels good. What other direction, though, is there, though, than studying? It's true that I can study something. I used to be quite proficient at it. I still am. But as I've explained before, the amount of resources left to discover has been dwindling for a long time. And it's true that I do read things again and see things completely, or much more easily, like the back. Like the Gita, it makes perfect sense. But for people who haven't, it doesn't make perfect sense. They have to invent all these things because it doesn't make sense to them. Anyways, I think that's what I had in my mind. I love all of you, and I'm not really. I was thinking like earlier today, like I'm not here to devour anything. Yeah, that's not the correct word. Participate. I want to lead. I know my life has trained me to be a certain type of leader. Not the typical leader you see around you, because that type of leadership style doesn't work. We need a change of leadership style, and I've worked towards that. One of the troubles has been in my life has been I don't really want to step up unless I see the need for me to step up. And then when I see that need for step up, I don't know how to get to the next rung above that because I'm stepping on toes. And maybe it's my personal skills, whatever. But it seems like a waste. It seems like a waste to have all this knowledge, have all these skill sets, all this understanding, and not be in a place where I'm helping others maximize their productivity and their energies. And planning. I'm an exceptionally great planner when I try, and compared to many people, I am, really. It's been a lot of energy planning things in my head. It's incredible how much I can plan in my head. So that's what I need, is those situations to help me grow. And it's easier now as I get older. Younger people automatically do look to older people. But younger people aren't necessarily competent, and I have real trouble with incompetence. So yeah, it requires sit-down meetings with actually competent people, come up with ideas. I would love to help that thing grow. The thing I'm talking about is this community And that's, kind of counter mainstream, obviously. I would love to help it grow. I would love to help it grow in a sustainable manner, plan that in, plan redundancies in. Being excluded is the worst thing I've ever really felt in my life. And I've been excluded from my family now. Pretty much my brother-in-law took over as like son. He took my place, dude. That's just weird, but it's wild. It's wild that shit can happen, pretty much. It's all personality type too. Yeah, my family, but to be excluded from those that you actually most respect, that's I don't think people realize what they do. Whether it's like these assholes in Canada who are, I think it was the library or the college was it somehow got the psychiatric board to like mandate retraining for Jordan Peterson, not by any of his actual patients, right? That's coercion, excluding him from his life. I mean, what he loves to do or did love to do. Probably loves it more than being on circuit. I'm sure. Being on circuit might have been fun for a while, but he probably fucking hates it. Even like making bank, I'm sure too. Making bank. And there you go again. Like, what is this world that we're living in? Fuck. Yeah, so even if he loses, he'll still be making bank. Oh, it's not good to be excluded though. It cripples people. Excluded from the things they love. I mean, look what Hitler. If they had let him into art school, they made it super easy for a bunch of people without a brain, hardly, to get into college. Especially if their skin color was different than my own, then they got into college even easier. Free ride pass. It's crazy. It's you just reward those who have the least merit. So it blows my mind in the so-called government is that this concept that these incompetent people are going to somehow fucking save you. So we've had several recent demonstrations. I'll give you an example. Maui's incompetence. They're cops stopping people into the fire, which led to deaths of people. But you could have seen that before just by going to Hawaii and seeing how the culture is and knowing that, there's definitely some competence there. But merit isn't what's being followed. But that's any any small town that doesn't want to change. But it's not even that. The Hawaiians are just. Yeah, it's just the most racist place in the United States. That's all. But there's other examples of what happens to people when, you know, they don't get to do the things that they love doing, and what turns them into. Like, it makes for great literature, you know, if you can write it. Which I do wish I could write it. This story, if I could actually really tell it, it would be fucking something. Apparently it's not, because no one ever fucking comes back and says to me anything. So, yeah, a little bit, but nobody wants to talk about it, so, okay. What's it like to be a world apart from everyone else? Yep. I think the rain yesterday did provide a sign for me. In which case I'm very sorry. I'm going to stay focused on keeping my mind from, you know, going places that lead to me not accomplishing anything. Because I'm deteriorating here, like I said. So, it's a new path, new beginnings. Ends of things. It all has to be brought down. Just anyone who thinks otherwise is deluding themselves. Nothing is going to go unchanged through this process. And the world is only further escalating. Kursk incursion was essentially NATO declaring war on Russia. The Middle Eastern situation is not improving. It can be done without bloodshed, but Israel won't allow that. Because it has a time crunch to obtain its objectives. So, if it's ever going to do it, it's got to do it. It's got to try. Otherwise, maybe we can all just forget, you know? And it all just disappears in the past. It's a myth that never happened. Never happened. Alright, I think that's enough. So, good luck everyone. Find me at Lucky Ranter, Telegram.